Attention everybody, the views and opinions expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and supported ministries and or nonprofits. And here they are today. They're going to talk about something very close to their heart. They're going to talk about growing out of autism with your host, Jim and Pam Whining. Take it away.
All right.
Good morning, dear.
Good morning, honey. Why don't you kick us off and talk about what is growing out of autism?
Well, Growing Out of Autism is the title of a series of programs that Jim Sharp and Cello Sharp did several years ago.
7 years ago.
7 years ago. And it was kind of a unique name because the truth is you don't grow out of autism. You deal with it, you understand it, you work around it, you enhance it, and you don't grow out of it, though. But it's kind of a fun name, and because there's so many people, many years ago, I don't know that they feel that way now, but many years ago, people thought that if you had autism as maybe a youngster, that you, as a person, would not have autism. And that's not true. But I do think that people learn and adapt to whatever thing you have, and it just maybe doesn't become as apparent as it did when you were younger. What do you think, Jim?
Well, when we had the title "Growing Out of Autism," the main emphasis was that there was a light at the end of the tunnel. But that light at the end of the tunnel is a little different than where you can say we no longer have autism. There is a whole series in life, and I can speak probably not as effectively as Jim Sharp could if he were here, about your child when you find out at a very young age that they have some learning issues. And while, and it's very true, it's still the child you love, but it's the child that there is an obstacle in front of it, which that word autism includes a package of problems. But one of the overriding problems is literally social interaction. An autistic person, a person with autism, I'll correct myself, a person with autism has a social interaction problem. And many times that problem also includes other related issues such as obsessive compulsive behavior, attention deficit, dysgraphia, dyslexia. There's IQ issues. There's just a whole package. And this loved one that you have, you want the best for them. And you have to deal with that on so many different stages, from going to school to actually adulthood. And of course, at that young age, before school, when you as a parent have the obligation and the responsibility and the love to take care of that child. And the problem is, it results in you and your couple not having adequate sleep, not having the right diet, and no sex. It is a very difficult life, and because of that, it evolves into many times divorce. And so one of the things that we are working with two groups of people, which evidently are not here quite at this time. One group of people, Todd and Andrea Carter. They're from Ozark, Missouri, and they are working on with Jim and Cello Sharp, and they're from Greenwood, Missouri. They're working together, one from the Marriages by Design nonprofit, which is what Todd and Andrea do, and the Autism Awareness thing, which is what Jim and Cello do. They're coming together, and we're going to have, in the very foreseeable future, a marriage retreat for couples with autistic children.
Oh, that's a new thing, is it not?
It is. You want to speak about our experiences?
Yeah.
About
several years ago, we had some people that they had some trouble with their marriage. And we decided to do a marriage retreat for them. And about the same time, you just have to know this, that it was in a motel, and everybody had their hotel rooms, and then we had a meeting room, and we would do different activities. Everybody would to kind of desensitize people and be able to make them feel comfortable talking. But just before we started this retreat, our dog, our Pyrenees dog, gave birth to like 10 or 12 puppies. And then, unfortunately, many of them died, but we had 3 puppies that we had to be hand-fed every 3 hours. So we had the puppies yelping in the bathroom of this room that we had all these couples in, and feeding them and trying to maintain that and some decorum. And but we had it was a good, I think, experience for Jim and I. However, our outcome, I think that, I can't remember how many couples were there, but they all got divorced.
They did.
So Jim and I really don't do a lot of marriage
here's the only thing I would say. I've heard both of you say that before. It's never based on you. It's based on those 2 people.
Yeah.
They have to make a choice.
For those of you who just noticed, we've been blessed with Todd Carter coming here and giving us a hand, because we've definitely demonstrated as a couple that we're not the most effective in connecting with the right information, and Todd has that. But the key element that this program is all about is to give some opportunity, some hope, and maybe even some direction and some fun, which is hard to have if you're a family with an autistic person. That word fun just doesn't happen. Which we would call a marriage retreat. And that's what Todd does with his nonprofit, Marriages by Design.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I apologize, Andrea can't be here today. She's got a shop to run and had to get some things done. But she's not big on speaking.
But she can sing her heart out.
She can sing like crazy.
She's got a nice facility there. It's a store that is named after... what is it? With all my heart.
Yep. Wham, out of Luke 10:27. It's always on my wrist.
And she's it's a thrift store.
Where's it located?
Give you the address by the
Ozark, Missouri. It's 205 East South Street.
Okay.
In Ozark, Missouri. Just it would be east of Walmart, like 2 lights, next to Sands Cafe. Anybody from Ozark knows Sands Cafe. It's one of those hole-in-the-walls that everybody loves.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's crowded at breakfast.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
I know my wife and I have been there, and I know my wife has bought some things. But
is it open today?
But
it is.
Oh, it is open today. Can you imagine that?
I know. But one of the things that I really like about the store is not part of the thrift store, and that's their jewelry. And
my husband likes jewelry.
I'm a nut about jewelry type stuff.
Yeah, Andrea, this is upon her heart. She used to shop at this place all the time, Christian Foundation. Andrea's unbelievable at taking furniture, redoing it, making it match. It saves us a lot of money. We had a lot of children, so we have a lot of expenses. And I remember she took an orange chair one time and painted it white with some kind of white paste. So she has this gift.
Wow. People
come in, they talk to her, she gives them ideas. We give to a lot of charitable foundations. One of them is Acts Ministry that Andrea ties to, Pregnancy Care Center.
Yeah.
The Freedom Church downtown, they deal with addictions and a lot of people and a lot of homeless people that come in. We're very good about them giving what they can so that it's just not a handout. And Boys and Girls Club, we give tons of clothes to. So every month is different. Whatever leads Andrea, she's got a heart of gold.
Oh, yes, she does.
Oh, my gosh. She's so much better than I am. I mean, she's just one of those people that just loves God, serves God, and listens to what he says. And really, that's what's helped our marriage. But it takes 2, like I told you. as great as Andrea is, we all have our issues. I tell everybody has their ex in their life, whatever that is. Everybody has one. Mine was anger, and
you've said that to me several times, and I just don't see that anger in you. I don't know whether it's just been gutted out or what, but I just don't see it.
Well, Lord has worked on me from the inside out. So that's why I tell people it really can change. But I know that's my issue, so part of healing is I just let people know right up front. And I like to talk about it so that it doesn't sneak its way back in, because when I'm driving on the highway, it can sneak its way back in.
Oh, yeah. Less than proud moment, right? Yeah.
So that's where sometimes I probably feel the most. It's like, God, you got to help me. Let me drive to work and not say a word.
Oh,
I mean, that's difficult. People don't understand that's difficult. And I'm in the car by myself. My family's aware of it so much that when we get in the car, and if somebody cuts me off or something, when we go by, my wife and my daughters all say, "Don't look." I mean, I can't even look. Nope, Dad. Because they know that I'm not saying anything, but I'm looking to see who it is. They said, "Just don't look." So it's funny when you make those a part of your marriage and ministry, you're teaching your own children. They all know.
Example.
Yeah, they already know what my issue is. And I try to just, God, help me not to be that way. I'm assertive in business. I want to do the best I can. But I don't want to jump out of line. And we all make mistakes. So what was to bring us into the marriage retreat on autism? Again, I told you, Jim, that we all have our ex.
Yes.
And I started thinking about, well, I've got a friend that it wasn't autism. Andrew knows the name, but literally 24 hours a day. And Gabrielle, who's out of Memphis, she lived till she was like 26. She only slept like 2 to 3 hours a day.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
So every time I think about her, it's like, God, the strength you've given her, because, God, I don't know if I could do that. So when you started telling me about this, I mean, it just started to get all over Andrew and I, because I said, they don't have an X. They have like a triple X.
Oh, God.
It's a triple XL, and it doesn't go away. Give us the words and the encouragement. Help couples, because I think you told me the divorce rate is something like.
Well, here I was just reading some recent statistics this morning, and now they're saying, there really isn't a difference between the divorce rate for couples with autistic children and couples without. I don't know what wise person came up with that conclusion, but their wisdom is not there. Speaking in practicality, obviously I have been a parent of an autistic child, I guess since 1982. And in essence, I went through all those processes where the school said, well, it was just attention deficit. And then the school said, well, it's just a matter of him understanding speech and language difficulties. And then, well, it's only a little matter of some socialization issues. And we moved, and I moved initially by myself, and then with my lovely wife here of 26 years, we moved to being in that position to, as each one of these steps happened, my son would add Anafranil, Depakote, lithium, Prozac, and Ritalin, one drug after another. And then you would see a control of behavior, but an absence of being a human. And then you get the whole gamut of feelings as a parent, from being feeling extremely selfish about what you were doing because you were trying to have some time to visit with your spouse, some time to actually go on a date, to do something. I can remember as a single person that if I had a person that would babysit my son, they would leave before I could pay him because they did not want to ever come back. And so when I think about this, a very good friend that I developed over this period of time because of his situation with his son was Jim Sharp. And Jim thought he was going to make it here today, but I guess he couldn't. but I'm going to speak about him because he's so important in understanding how things develop as from the autistic point of view. Jim and Cello, their son, they have had, obviously since day one, they have been together as a couple all the way to now, and now he's a full adult. And they have experienced as parents that responsibility of, before they go to school, that entire nightmare of school, which is a nightmare because you have to realize that nobody in the world wants you around. The school really doesn't. The school really doesn't want you. And for sure, any social organization, including a church, doesn't want you because of your antisocial behavior from your child. And Jim and Cello have, and are, I'm not certain how many years they've been married, but certainly in the 20s.
I think it was 26.
26?
I think so.
Well, that's what we've been married, 26. So
I think it's very similar.
And that is amazing. That is just amazing because all of the couples, and for those of you who are listening who are part of the Autism Outreach Fellowship and also the Autism Awareness that we have through Joseph Storehouse, the adult program, if you're watching this program, you know what it's like to keep together as husband and wife. It's extremely difficult. Not only is it difficult, husband and wife, it's difficult to connect in your family because your family has difficulty with you showing up at events. And so I thought a marriage of activity would be the knowledge and wisdom that Andrea and Todd have in Marriage by Design, bringing that knowledge, that empowerment to couples, along with Jim and Cello, who have had a lifetime experience with dealing with an autistic son, and putting together a marriage retreat where there could be something fun involved and also some informative and some cooperation would be a wonderful, and by the way, according to my research on Google, unique marriage retreat.
Yeah. I've never been a part of one. And I told Jim and I just told them both that, again, I have no experience in this. I know marriages. Andrew and I have dealt with a lot of different, there's probably not much we haven't heard of. This was the first. But what's so funny is the Lord will come alongside and he will put the quality checks on it saying, yes, I want you to do this. So you guys are very familiar with Skylar, our son, and his story, and lost his wife, and finally dating. Well, the young lady he is dating, Morgan, has 2 autistic brothers.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, well, this is strange.
Yes, yeah.
So I began to tell her about it, and obviously she said, well, I'll help out. I mean, and she's working at a facility like Ark of the Ozarks. And
Really?
Oh, really?
So very, very unique and has experience with it. And then the young lady that I had just hired in our business for sales moved, what's it been, a year or 2 ago from Hawaii, and that's what she did, was help with autistic children.
Oh, really?
Wow.
So I'm like,
You're inundated now.
I'm like, Lord, I've never been around autism. I mean, I'm 58. I haven't had this much conversation, so obviously this is from you, and it's your heart. I don't know how we do all this, but there is a foundational belief, just like marriages. I was telling you, Jim, if anybody can imagine a home, and you've got a foundation of a home, and then you got the pillars and the bricks, and then you have the roof. And Marriages by Design lines up with life's issues. So on the roof is forgiveness, sexual, intimacy, finances, communication. There's all this stuff. You know, everybody always wants to start on the roof. I said, I've never seen a home built where you start on the roof. And so it made sense years ago. God woke me up at 2 a.m. to do this stupid little drawing, because I don't draw, but I drew out this house and started writing all this down. That, Todd, the problem is people want to fix their issue before they come back and before they fix their marriage. We need this foundation of Christ, God, prayer. That's your foundation. Can't be any cracks in it. We got to get that solid. And then we move into love and forgiveness. And then on the roof is all these issues. Well, when I start thinking about autism, I mean, you can cut everything out and write the big autism on top because it's like overwhelming. Mm-hmm. But I still know for couples, I have to get you guys to see what God wants you to see first. Mm-hmm. Then it's easier to tackle things as a team. The few couples I have talked with or know about, like Morgan's parents, divorced. Mm-hmm. And then I started hearing going, my word, I can understand the young lady that Andrea knows so well, Cindy in Memphis, divorced. Mm-hmm. She has spent 26 years taking care of Gabrielle and her son until she finally passed away. I mean, she'd go to the hospital 4 or 5 times a year. I mean, we thought it was the last time. I can't imagine that pressure. Mm-hmm. You know, you're going to be screaming at God, you're screaming at everybody. And yet I saw Cindy say one of the greatest things I have ever heard. She took her misery and turned it into a ministry. She started a program at the school or at the church because she had a friend that had 3 autistic children. I can't.
Oh my gosh.
3. One, I mean, the X's, there's not enough X's in the alphabet for somebody that has 3.
Yes.
She started a program to where they could go to church and she'd get all these helpers. I'm not talking like one helper for 25. You know what that's like?
Yes.
It was like 2 helpers for every one.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And they had a whole group of them. But it allowed them to go to church just to get 2 hours of being able to worship and not have to try to worry or run around mm-hmm. or worry that they're going to holler out and everybody's going to look at you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I saw what an incredible idea that God took that misery and turned it into a ministry.
That's an amen.
So I don't know where this goes or how it works out. Again, we have tons of material for marriages to help couples. It's like, God, just help this work because this needs to be a foundational where they get an opportunity to have a blast and have mm-hmm. fun. Mm-hmm. I mean, for those that come, we're already talking about the Blackwood Sing on Saturday, so we'll make it part of their package that
exciting.
They have a place to stay.
A group that we've been part of, and of course Jim's mother started a group called the Autism Outreach Fellowship. And
I believe it's Betty Sharp's birthday today, isn't it?
Is it Betty's?
I think it might be Betty Sharp's birthday today.
Wow.
Yes.
What a wonderful lady.
She is. She's amazing.
And this organization did something which I was involved from the beginning. I have to admit, obviously, if it's an autism thing, I was involved with it. And she wanted to do something that I didn't agree with, but as I look back at it, it was wonderful. Her plan was to have 4 social events just for families with autistic children every year. A pumpkin patch deal, a Santa deal. And and for these families, which I have actually been, and my wife and I have been connected with for over 20, 25 years, for these families, that was their entire social calendar were these 4 events. For those of you on Autism Awareness watching us through Facebook, you know what I'm talking about. That Santa time, that pumpkin patch, that the swim thing at Cocoa Keys.
Yes.
That was crucial to your planning and having something to look forward to, because I know how hard it is that when you hit weekend that you have the weekend and nothing to look forward to except surviving the weekend. Yeah. And so
the rest of us complain because something happens in our life, takes some time. I mean, it's these things that we need. If the world would sit down and think about, we wouldn't have the issues we're having today, because everything's about greed and power and what's for me. And again, my heart goes out to every couple that has an autistic child. I want to do my part, and Andrea does, to feed into, I mean, our 20 years, Andrea and I have been married 31 years, our 20 years in the marriage ministry, of really, here's how we're different. We're pastors through Acts Ministry. I've had more men sit down with me and said, man, you don't act like a pastor. And I said, well, because I'm going to tell you all the junk I've done. I mean, that's how I start.
I mean, you're not perfect?
No, and I want to tell people right up front, let's just get this out of the way. So let me rattle off the things that have happened to Andrea and I so that you can sit over there and go, well, I feel pretty good about myself now. So that's what makes it different. It's not about Andrea and I telling people what we've done. It's like, here's life. Here's what we went through. Here's how God helped us. If we turned to him every time, we got stronger. If we tried to handle it on our own, we began to fail. That's the foundational truth that most pastors and churches have tried to teach us, but yet our world has changed. A lot of people want to talk about all the issues out there, and I always come back to, if we would just teach people how to love Christ, how to read his word. I grew up very legalistic, I tell people. I was told everything I'm not supposed to do. When you do that to a person, they have a tendency to, well, let me see what that's like since they told me not to do it. It's kind of like if this wall says wet paint on it, what do we all want to do? Well, let me see if it's still wet.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about this a few minutes ago. I was talking with Pastor Ladina Boo from Stockton a few minutes ago, and we were talking about kids and how you can tell them not to do this, and not, we had, on our farm, we had electric fence, and 3 boys, and I'm not going to name their names, 2 of which are ours, and I told the boys, I said, don't grab that fence or you're going to get shocked. I'm just going to tell you that. Well, our oldest boy would, the minute I said that, absolutely not. In fact, by the way, he is autistic, and he would not do it. He would not cross that line. The middle boy, and he's going, well, I don't know. And then the boy that lived with us a long time, no big deal. He grabs it, and he's I don't know, somehow getting the shock all the way through him, and somehow Randy touches him, and then Randy touches my wife, and they're all 3 getting shocked at the same time.
No, it wasn't me. It was who was it? Randy. It was Alex.
Was it Alex?
That was another event. They
all were just getting the heck.
Yes.
And it didn't matter. I told him, I said, you guys touch this, it's going to pop the pee right out of you. I'm telling you right now. And Alex would not do it. Not a chance. The minute Dad spoke, that was it. But when it came to the other boys, oh boy, they had to have that good old-fashioned shock. I mean it.
Well, it's just we live on a farm, and it's very conducive to having ATVs and things like that. And it'd be fun to have a gun and do some shooting and that sort of thing. And Jim and I always said, there's not going to be guns here. We're not going to shoot our own horses and donkeys.
No guns, no ATVs.
No. And as soon as they all left the farm, they got an ATV, they got a gun, anything else that they could think of that was a no. And then today, most of them don't have any of those things. Now, Randy's into ATVs. He's big into that, but he sold, I think, almost always guns and stuff like that. But, just because you said don't do it,
right.
We had a pretty broad connection with a variety of families with special needs, children, including autistic, through a program called Showtime Llamas and Alpacas. And it was all about integrating the families that had autistic children with the families that did not. And it was I think a very successful project that we totally enjoy. And I will tell you, here I am sitting at my ripe old age saying, I really miss Showtime Llamas and Alpacas. When I became president of Acts Ministry about 7 years ago, we kind of had to decide we couldn't do both at the same time. And but we had so many wonderful young people, both autistic and not, that grew up in that program, and they became sociably integrated, which doesn't happen. They're usually people working together, but not together. They're working like on the same project, but they wouldn't work together. Well, this caused them to work together.
They had to share llamas and share responsibilities and load the trailer and feed the animals and do classes, and they really stopped thinking so much about that person has autism, but just, hey, get in line, or you're not doing that right, or
You didn't
something
buck
like.
the bail, and it was.
Everybody had their strengths, but it was a good combination, and we may find that with marriage design, or is that right? Marriage
Marriages by design.
By design, that in Showtime, what we did was we had, again, just the normal Joe, normal girl, and then we had a kid with autism or ADHD or something like that.
Well,
and it worked well to have a blend, not a huge group, but a blend. And it may help us with this program, is maybe we don't want all
families with autistic
children.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
We'll see.
Have you been able to? Excuse me, Todd and I haven't had a chance to visit, and so this is kind of off the
You're
cuff.
just
But
talking.
yes, did you get a chance to get us some dates and places?
There are several places. Unfortunately, I don't get the deals I get in May as I get in February. I used to do retreats all the time in February because you get such a great deal down in Branson because there's no shows.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
finding that the deals are not as good, but we can find almost. There's so many different resorts. I talked to one yesterday on some business. So you can get anything under $200.
Well, for those of you who are listening, both in Kansas City and surrounding areas, of course, down here in the Springfield area, the goal is to have this marriage retreat in Branson, and and that it would be it would start on like a get acquainted time on a Friday night,
Right.
and kind of set the groundwork a little bit. Todd, correct me if I'm wrong. And after we have that, of course, then check into your room on Friday, and you would have that time available to either visit with other people or to go out and enjoy Branson. And then on Saturday, again, a combination of some activities as far as class activities, both from the autistic perspective and from the marriage encounter perspective.
That's good.
And then go to a show that would be a positive, uplifting experience. There's no question about the Blackwoods will get you fired up, and go to their show, enjoy that, and then there would be a wrap up. And if I've missed something, and then I think we're planning on a wrap up session on Sunday morning.
Right.
Maybe a short little message, and people can maybe share some of what they've picked up and what they're going to use, and also, which is very important,
Yeah, good feedback.
set the connections so that we have a group that's connecting. Now, we can't do this. We've had, when we first posted this, I think we've had right at 400 different responses, all the way from engagement, view, to just reaching. We really can't get much past 12 couples. That's it. That's 24, and that's probably going to max us out.
That's a big one.
So when we get the date and the time and the places and the cost, you'll need to be as responsive as possible. And you will be able to see this on Acts Media Group, on Acts Ministry, on Autism Awareness Support, all of those facilities, and we'll put it also on Autism Outreach Fellowship. All of those will have that information available, but we'll have to cap it at 12 families.
So let me tell the group again, if you've ever been to a marriage retreat, a lot of us have. I'm just a different person on some of these things. So I grew up in the church, very legalistic, go to marriage retreats. Andy and I would spend all Friday night there, all Saturday there. By the time you got Saturday night, the man is wanting to run. I mean, you just spent like 15 hours of being told you're horrible. I mean, I got to be honest, that's the way most of them were. So when Andrew and I started marriage retreats, it's like, you're here to be with your spouse. You're not just here to have somebody tell you everything that you're doing wrong and walk away. No. In a marriage retreat, again, Andrew are very unique. All across the city, I don't know anybody that counsels marriages where it's two people. And it always didn't make sense to me. Why would, if you're going to do marriage counseling, if you have just a man or a woman, it's funny, a couple will come to them and they'll say, oh, I loved him. The other one will say, man, I couldn't stand him. I mean, that's what you hear all the time. With Andrea and I got two different people. We're both different. We both think differently. So it's great because we have another couple that's the same. One of them will line up with me. One of them lines up with Andrea. Opposites attract. That's usually the way marriages are. We're trying to make sure the opposites don't attack later in life. And so you get to talk about all these things. So when we do a marriage retreat, I want it to be fun for people. I want us to come on Friday night and have a get together and a game time. And I've done so many characters. I was, what I can't even think of his name. Mel Gibson, and I did the whole freedom speech one year.
Whoa!
Had the outfit and all, so that's how we started the weekend. I can't promise you that anymore, but it was
awesome.
It was to make everybody realize, and that's what the title was freedom. You know, freedom in our marriages, but you have to be aware of some of the downfalls. But to have fun that Friday night, to go to a show, to hear from Jim and them to what has helped through the years. I mean, I could see this couples just going, yeah, well, this has helped, and hear a lot of good information and make great acquaintances so they can contact. And then, yes, we're going to give you a few hours. We're going to have a lot of fun. But I also want them to be able to spend some time, the two of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a marriage retreat.
Right.
Every time I went to a marriage retreat, we were so tired by the time we got back to the room, there was no talk of even sex because it was like, we're going to be up at crack of dawn. I got to be taking notes or I'm going to be in trouble. I mean, that, in the legalistic world, sex was never talked about. And here's what people don't realize. Sex is a big part of marriage. And if you don't think so, go talk to all the people that got divorced and what happened. And probably one of the biggest things I've seen, like even in the church, all these counselors, somebody brought some up. Do you really think one person probably shouldn't counsel? And I said, okay, let me tell you, every pastor that has left the ministry, the three that I knew of, they were counseling to somebody and had an affair. So,
oh my gosh.
So yes, I truly believe that.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful. That's why I also love our pastors. Like, don't have door closed when it's just you and somebody else. And Andrew, I've had so many talks. If a couple comes to us or a woman and she'll say, hey, can I talk with you about my marriage? I said, you can talk to Andrea and I'll talk to your husband. Because that's the way we believe it is meant to be. So we're going to have a lot of fun, and it's not going to be me talking for 8 hours.
No.
Yeah.
Because that's not enjoyable. We want to have time to be able to get away, enjoy. Yes, I can drive home a lot of foundational information. I can't make you put it into your heart, and that's what I'll tell everybody. Because, Ben, I used to have a problem. The first couple that got divorced after Andrea and I were counseling, we were blaming us, and finally God said, no, you can't do that. You can't give them your heart. You know what you've been through, but I changed. See, in a marriage, people always want to point fingers at each other. Well, we all know that doesn't work. We all get, it's like backing a fox into a corner telling them to do something. They're going to come out fighting. Instead, what we're supposed to do, we're supposed to look to Christ. And the closer you get to Christ and work just on yourself, the closer your marriage becomes. That's why the scripture says the two can become one. It's the only time where math is the opposite, where two can become one. And the only way you do that, because that used to bug me, that verse, going, I'm never going to be like Andrea. I can never be as sweet as she can. I don't care how hard I try. So God, how do I work on me? He said, just work on you. Read the scripture. Understand the scripture. The closer you get to me, the closer I got to Andrea. And I got to see the scripture come alive, that the two will become one by looking to him.
Well, I kept telling her that, but it's been a long ride.
What?
I guess I'll see you guys right after.
Yeah, right. Set up our appointment.
Okay, I guess I just see by the clock on the wall here that we're getting close to our magical 45 minutes. So I want to say at the end here, for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, on Facebook, and would like to find out more information, please feel free to contact Acts Ministry at 4321acts@gmail.com. Or, Todd, what's your email?
Mine is TC for Todd Carter, TC@marriagesbydesign.com.
Either one of those will work. I don't have Jim Sharp's here available, but either one of those will work. Of course, you can always message us on Facebook through Acts Media Group. And I want to again let you know very shortly we'll have the announcement of the days, the places, the times. And I can only say that we can only take the first 12 couples that sign up. And so be on the lookout on Facebook. Be on the lookout.
Great opportunity.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you, I wish this would have been available to me 26 years ago, where we had a person skilled in marriage relationships matched with families that are experiencing autism. I think it could be a tremendous tool for all of us in the future. Does anybody have any closing words?
No, just, look for it. We'll try to put the information together quick. Again, it's a little bit different time of the year, but it'll be beautiful in Branson if we make it in May. And very excited for you all. We're going to make it as inexpensive as possible because, again, we're not looking to take anything. God's put our heart into this saying, let's do this for the couples. Let's have fun.
Amen.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. I'm Jim Whining.
I'm Pam Whining.
Todd Carter.
God bless you now.